Hey guys, guess what? It's Angel. You're watching my latest video, and today I wanted to make a video. I just kind of picked some comments from a lot of my different videos that I've made over the years, and I just thought it would be fun to kind of talk about some of those. And so let's just get into it, right? So one of the first ones that I wanted to talk about is actually one that that is a valid question. When I first got my diagnosis of bipolar, I was really freaked out, and I talk about that in one of my very first videos that I ever made. I didn't have a lot of reference for bipolar. I just didn't really know what that meant when I got that diagnosis. In my family, I do have mental illness, but I had always heard the word manic depression, manic depressive. I have my grandmother's brother died in a sanatorium when he was receiving shock treatments, and then my grandmother's grandfather, I believe it was her grandfather, it could have been her great-grandfather, but I believe it was her grandfather, died in what they used to call a sanatorium, which was basically, you could have said asylum or mental health hospital, whatever you want to call it. He died there just, I believe, of old age, but it had always, like, when my aunts and my mom got together and talked about, family history and talked about it, I had always heard manic depressive. Now, they use the term bipolar. They don't use manic depressive, but it's the same thing. And so I had no clue what bipolar meant, but my provider told me I had bipolar. She kind of explained a little bit about it, and then her next words to me, and I say this in my video, were, "Don't tell anybody." And she said, you can tell your immediate, like obviously your husband and your, immediate family, and maybe, really close friends. But other than that, she said, really keep it guarded, because, people get scared and you might lose friends, and, and so I was terrified. So the first thing I did was, I cried. I think I even drove home, like, just sobbing, like I could barely see through the tears as I was driving home, because I was just scared. I didn't know what I was dealing with, and also mentally I wasn't really stable. And then when I got home, the first thing I did was go to YouTube, because I didn't, you can find everything on YouTube, right, even back then. And I couldn't really find a lot. Like, I found a couple things. I think I found this one video that was called Up and Down, and the thumbnail was like a picture of a roller coaster. It was like a cartoon picture of a roller coaster. And so I watched that video, and some of you may have, it might even still be on YouTube, Up and Down. If I find it, I'll put it down in the description so you guys can watch it. But so I found that one, and I found another one. I can't remember his name. He's pretty well known for being bipolar. He's a British guy, and I am having brain fog right now, so I can't think of his name. Anyway, I'll find that video too, and I'll put it down in the description. But those were the only two that I found. So the next trip is I went to Barnes & Noble, so I'm not going to ramble on about that. But anyway, so the question is, why so many videos about this being bipolar? And his next question is it just a cool thing to make videos about bipolar? And my question would be, I think that a lot of people make videos on YouTube about bipolar because everybody has their own different experience with their mental health. I think maybe some people do it because maybe they do think it's a cool thing. I can't speak for everybody, but I think, like I said, everybody has their own journey, their own experience. for me personally, the reason that I make these videos is I get to share with you what I'm going through, but also information that I've gotten, and it's a way for me to reach out and let people know that you're not alone in your experience. This is my experience, but what I'm going through might also be the same thing or similar to what you're going through. And to let you know that you're not alone, because when I found out, I felt completely alone. And I felt like I couldn't tell anyone. I felt like I was when I felt like in social situations, when I walked into the room, I felt like I was the only one in the room that was different. And I had a secret and I couldn't tell anybody, so I felt very unauthentic. And in my life, I had only been authentic in my life up until that time. And I felt like for the first time, not for the first time, because I suffered from abuse as a child, and so I had always carried that secret, but at some point I was able to tell people about that, and so I was able to relieve that burden and that secret. And then I was able to be an authentic person. And then I got bipolar stamp. And then I was like, oh, another secret that I have to carry. But as my journey went on, I was able to open up and talk to people. And then I decided I would share stuff with people, with everybody. And I do that through my YouTube videos. And it's a way that I feel like I can help end the stigma. And I can also reach out to people and help them with their journey. So for me, that's why I make my videos. And I can't speak to other people about why they make theirs, but I would assume that a lot of people feel the same way that I do. And so they share their journey for the same reasons. And I would just say that I want to support those people, because for every person that gets that mental illness diagnosis, they probably feel the same way that I did when I first got mine, and they're probably going to want as much information as they can take in about that. And the more videos that they can go to, maybe they don't relate to me, but maybe they relate to someone else. And if that video is on YouTube, I say, awesome, more power to them. I think that's great because it helps them, So, so someone commented that they don't tell people because they feel they'd be discriminated against. And so I think I just kind of talked about that, and that is a horrible burden to carry. And I know a lot of people feel that way. I felt that way for, I would say, the first 2 to 2.5 years. It took me that long to really feel comfortable enough to tell people that weren't in my immediate safe circle. So, like, obviously my husband and my son knew right away. Like, they knew right away. And then I called and told my mom, and then I had 2 close friends that I told. But other than that, like, nobody knew. Nobody knew. I didn't tell anyone because I was terrified to tell people. And even like my aunts and uncles who I'm very close with, like, and my cousin who I'm really close with, like, I could tell them really anything. I held it from them. And like, that makes me really sad that I held that from people that I really love. And I'm getting emotional. And because I know now that they would have understood, even though they don't probably really understand mental illness. Like, there's a lot of people that really still, like, don't fully understand mental illness and what I go through. They love me, and I know that they love me, but the fear was really a big thing for me. Sorry, I'm crying. Anyway, so I understand that, And so there were a lot of people that I didn't tell for like 2.5 years. And then finally, like one day I just was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I have to be open and honest with people, and I can't be scared, because that's the only way you're going to break the stigma, is if you normalize it, because it's a normal thing. Like, I know they call it a disorder. I think, honestly, it's a disease. It's, your brain is not functioning properly. It's a disease. Like, if your heart is not functioning properly, they don't call it a disorder. They call it heart disease. You know, if your lungs are not functioning properly, they don't call it a disorder. They call it a disease. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what the disconnect is. I don't understand what the disconnect is. Your brain is a very important organ in your body. If your brain is not functioning, like, it controls your entire body. And I don't understand what the disconnect is with people and insurance companies and all of that goes together. But I'm going off on a little tangent. But the discrimination is real, and I understand that, and I went through that too. But we have to be brave, and we have to break the stigma, and we have to normalize mental illness, because it is a real thing and it is a normal thing. And until we normalize it, we are going to continue to have problems in our society and in our nation even, because we have to address the issues of, like, not having enough beds for people who need to be treated and are not getting the treatment that they need, and for people that are being treated and, you know, and have episodes where they need to be stabilized. Like, it's a horrible thing for us to not be, we're not being smart about treating mental illness. So I understand that we are scared, but we really, really have to come together as a community and normalize it. Okay, so that's what I would say about that. Okay, I only have a couple more. This video would be forever long. Okay, unpredictability. Someone said it's unpredictable, and my friend Megan, like, she's amazing. We've done a couple videos together, and those videos are very popular. I wish that we lived closer and could do more of those videos, but she talked about unpredictability, and somebody commented on one of those videos, and they said, you know, basically unpredictability kind of sucks because, you know, she asked, like, do you have to cancel plans at the last minute? And I have to say that is one of the things that I really hate about this illness is when I make plans with people, I always, in the back of my head, get really, really anxious, because I know that there's always a chance that I'm not going to be able to follow through on those plans. And when it happens, I feel like a huge flake. Because you just don't know with bipolar how you're going to feel in the morning. You don't know if you're going to wake up and you're going to just not be able to function that day. And if you have made plans with someone, you're going to have to break them. So it's really hard, and it's hard to explain to people that it's always a possibility that you might not be able to make it. So I usually tell people when I make plans with them, you know, I usually kind of, I don't warn them, but I kind of warn them, you know, in advance, like, you know, I'm going to try and make it. I'm really going to try and be there. But I try not to make really hard plans with people that I don't know very well, because I just don't want to let them down. Now, people that I know really well, they understand and they know me. But if I do make plans with someone and I really, really want to go, I will do everything in my power to make sure the day before that that I just try really hard. Like, I go to bed early. I try and eliminate anything that would cause me anxiety or anything like that. I have like a checklist the night before that I try and go through so that I don't, so that everything sort of falls in line the next day, so that I can make those, so that I can make that appointment and not have to call. So it's just a lot of planning that you have to do before the actual appointment. But the unpredictability is really hard with bipolar. So let's see, the other thing, support groups. We talked about support groups in one of my videos, and support groups are huge. If you can find a support group, diligently look for a support group. I think that it makes a whole lot of difference. Obviously, you want a good psychiatrist that can manage your medications. I cannot say enough about my new psychiatrist. I mean, it's like, I have not felt this good in, I can't even tell you how long, like 5 years, literally 5 years I have not felt this good. It's amazing. I woke up at 9 o'clock this morning. I got up, I was able to eat, I was able to shower and get dressed, and I feel good. And I've not felt this way in 5 years. And it could be that I'm going into a hypomanic episode. I'm not really sure, but if that's happening, that hasn't happened in 5 years. So we'll see how that goes. But at any rate, I feel really great, and I hope that it's because of my new meds. And so I can't say enough about a good psychiatrist. I go see a counselor on top of that, because a lot of psychiatrists nowadays, they don't do counseling. They only do med management. And if they do counseling as well, they're kind of limited on time. So like with my psychiatrist, he does my med management, but any counseling, my sessions with him are like half an hour, whereas with my counselor, I get a full hour with her, and I see her once a week. And if I need to see her more than once a week, like if I'm in sort of like crisis mode, I can see her twice a week. So do that. And along with that, if you can find a support group, do it, because we need all the support that we can get. I feel like if I can put my problems at the feet of paid professionals versus at the feet and the shoulders of my husband, I do him a great service if I can do that. And it does our marriage a great service as well. So, and that kind of leads into the last thing that I was going to talk about, which is feeling like a burden. And this is going to resonate with everyone watching this video that suffers from mental illness. Feeling like a burden on your caregiver, your family, your friends, whatever, whoever it is that's in your life that supports you. We all feel this way. And I want to say this. Stop. Okay? Stop. I want you to change your thinking. This happened to me during a counseling session, and it was a light bulb moment for me. And I could not stop crying, and I'm going to hopefully not cry during this. Think about somebody that you love very much. Your husband, your child, your parents, whoever that is, a friend in your life. I want you to think about that person and how much you love them. Now I want you to think about, is that person a burden to you? What if that person came to you and told you that they felt like a burden? How would that make you feel? Would you be concerned? Are they a burden to you? Of course not. And would you want them to feel that way? Of course you wouldn't. When I had that light bulb moment, I felt like I needed to go home and apologize to my husband, because I know that he loves me so much. I'm not a burden. You're not a burden. And to those people that love you so much, they do not want you to feel like a burden. So stop. Okay? Just get that thinking out of your mind, because it's not true. That thinking is the thinking of an irrational brain. Okay? So I just want to say that we need to let that thinking go. So that's the last comment that I wanted to address. One last thing, and I'm going to let you guys go with this video. A book that I bought, the very first book that I bought on bipolar, and I think it's a really, really good book, and I can't remember if I've shared it in a video. I don't think I have. And I will put the title and all the information for this book, I'll put it in the description box. But it's just called Bipolar Disorder. It's a guide for patients and families. The one that I have is the second edition, which doesn't really mean anything. It's by Francis Mark Mondimore, MD, and it looks like this. And you can see I have all these little tabs coming down from the pages that the different references that I have. But it just is such a good reference. It talks about, all the different chapters. It's symptoms, syndromes, diagnosis, treatments, getting better and staying well. It is such a great reference. If you don't have this book, you need to get this book. I'm trying to look for a price, and I can't remember. I cannot remember the price, and it's not on here. But I know it wasn't super expensive. So anyway, I'll put the information for this in the description box. So with that, guys, I hope you're having a great day. Hope you're having a great week. And until we talk again, bye.